Hey everybody, it is Kevin and Thea from our PH Ally, and Thea is reporting from Washington, D.C. She's busting folks over there. She's telling what needs to happen and changing the world of remote patient monitoring to speak. She is on a fun family vacation, and we have a really fun show for you in chronic care management, something that Thea has always said one of the easiest ways for us to be able to enter into the space. I'm going to hit the reel for us, and then we will get rocking all together. All right, Thea. So we're at the state capitol talking about chronic care management. This feels pretty big time, so I love it. Tell me, Thea, when you and I first started talking, chronic care management was something that I feel is part of your genesis story and something you always say almost in every episode that you're already doing it. You're just not getting paid for it. So what do we want to tell folks about chronic care management today?
I think it's the part of chronic care management that most retail pharmacists would be comfortable delivering. From the aspects of the conversations that you have at the pharmacy counter to the work that's already being done in the pharmacies, I think chronic care management is the easiest way to get started in clinical services because you're doing most of the work. A lot of times, I know I did a little bit of a conversation on whether or not it's MTM versus chronic care management, and delivering on this subject of how do we incorporate chronic care management into the retail pharmacy and make it really easy for you to do. Because at the end of the day, action is going to speak louder than words at this point with PBMs coming our way like a freight train. So really just coming at it from a place of you're already doing clinical services. You just don't know it because someone hasn't told you that you're doing it. A lot of times when you call Mrs. Smith to make sure that she's going to be at home, that is part of care management. That's coordination of care. When you call Mrs. Jones to say, are you still taking these 7 medications before I pre-pack them this month? That's coordination of care. With coordination of care comes time and chronic care management coding. And so when you look at what the requirements really are, it's to really make a plan for the patients. And we do that as pharmacists. We make a plan, set the goals, set them very achievable goals for the patients. I know a lot of pharmacists maybe out here are familiar with the DPP diabetes prevention programs. That in and of itself, you're setting goals for patients. Different programs that you would set goals for them, maybe as simple as make sure you take all of this antibiotic. I know you'll feel better in 7 days, but you need to take all 10 days of that, right? So that is setting goals for the patient. So we do the clinical services all the time. It's just whether or not pharmacists realize that the value of coordination of care that they're adding in the retail pharmacy, because at the end of the day, they're worried about their NDCs are right and their reimbursements are correct and as maximized as you can get. So I think it really lends itself to the chronic care management program to really be wrapped tight in a MedSync program. When your technician is calling every person on your MedSync for that day, that month, the amount of time that is spent with them can be part of the chronic care management codes. And why can't we collect that time? And it's really simple. Some people have softwares that help them with the time and making sure they bill the codes correctly and things. But a lot of people could do it from a spreadsheet and a Word document back to the physician talking about what you did, what goals were set, just like your MTM documents. It's not much difference. But the thing I love about it is that it allows us to bill every month. Because every month we're doing chronic care management, we're doing MedSync every month. And we're talking to Mrs. Smith at least 7 times in that month. Like, it's so wonderful to see that you can add a little touch of more value and get reimbursed way more than the MedSync program is bringing in for most people.
How with chronic care management? I mean, chronic care management, principal care management, there's a few different names and kind of settings there. When we're looking to start with Mrs. Smith, as you're saying there, Thea, and identifying how many Mrs. Smiths we have that we could do this with, what's a good way for us just to get started with who can I serve through this program in the very first place?
I would say, who is the doctor that you have most of your patients from on your MedSync program? tally up who's who. Like, get a number of those patients with Dr. I don't know, Dr. Jones, and you have 35 patients with Dr. Jones. You go to Dr. Jones and say, I have 35 of your patients on my MedSync program. How are your medication adherence numbers? Because I bet they're pretty darn good. Because I have 35 of your patients. 35 of your Medicare patients are with me in my pharmacy, and they're doing the right thing. Can we capitalize on doing a little more for them? Can we get them to their measurement goals? Because we know they're at their medication adherence goals, but can we get them to that A1C of under 9? Can we get them to that blood pressure under 140/90 for you?
Right.
An easy conversation to be had. With all things getting started, I think you group your patients by doctor number 1, disease state number 2. I think those are the two easiest ones. Diabetes is the biggest disease state I would look at, just because, if you're a diabetic patient, you're getting a statin, and you're getting your diabetic medications, and you're going to be on some kind of an ACE inhibitor or an ARB. Like, come along. So there's the medication adherence for the physicians too, right? So all three of those are med adherence measures. And so look at that one group of patients, your diabetic patients on metformin, take that group and say, how can I help monitor them? How can I help make them better? And really start looking at, I'm already doing the work around the medication adherence part. So take that back to the physician and really get started for taking action on these patients to be able to collect minutes for care coordination, to be able to bill for chronic care management. You need 20 minutes. How many people out there are spending more than 20 minutes on their patients for MedSync alone?
It's really good points. I think, Thea, like just the synchronization between who are the doctors you have a relationship with, that you can connect those dots with first, because that's your billable opportunity. You have to have that, right? And then finding the segmentation of patients in there that would fit the criteria for chronic care management. The one thing that I feel like I run into probably way too often, Thea, and I'll see if I can blow this image up as well as I can, and I'll just decrease this one. But it's around this, Thea. It's usually around, I'm scared of the care plan. Like, the care plan is going to be too much. It's going to be too comprehensive. I've got a little image that I'll share right here, and I'll kind of read it to you because I know you're on your phone.
No, I got it. I can see it.
Oh, perfect. So, I mean, really, it just breaks it down into the very simple things. The care plan itself is 12 different criteria that kind of fall into the overall care plan. But when you think about those, they just fall into these 5 buckets. A comprehensive assessment, a treatment goals and expected outcomes, a list of patient health problems, inventory of resources and individuals to get involved in the care, and then ongoing medication management. Like, it's that simple, folks. Like, it is not that hard. You are already doing it. Don't let oh no, I got to get a care plan done. I don't do a care plan. I don't do medical documentation get in your way. It's easy. I mean, look at those bubbles. And Thea, I'm sure, has it broken down even more simplistically, on her side.
Yeah. And I think the 5 buckets, out of all of them, from a retail-minded pharmacist like myself, only one of those was new to me, and that was offering the resources. I didn't know I needed to. Like, I did it all the time, but I didn't know that was part of the care management that I could be getting paid for. Like, how many times did you recommend Meals on Wheels to someone because they're not eating, because they've lost 7 pounds and you noticed? And you're like, are you eating? Is everything okay? Are you able to see when you cook? And I've had that conversation in my pharmacies, really offering the resources, because we meet the patients where they are. So again, that's care coordination and can be billed under chronic care management as minutes accumulated with that patient for that month.
Boom. Now that you guys know how easy it is, and Thea broke it down from our state capital, so that adds a little bit extra punch, right? Or a national capital, that adds extra punch there. But I do think that there is a couple other things I'd love to be able to tie in with what Thea just said on the resources piece. Like, those resources that we're giving away don't have to come from your mouth. Your pharmacy technicians, and if any pharmacy technicians are here, you guys are rock stars with this. And they know the resources. They work with those folks that are giving the resources often, because they're also your patients. So being able to connect them with patient assistance programs, dietary programs, exercise programs, all the things that you really want to be able to help your patients with, you don't have to do all of them. Like, to do chronic care management does not mean that you've got to put a gym inside your pharmacy and you have to have a nutritionist on board. You're just connecting the dots for those folks and be able to bring them together that you're already doing or your technicians are already doing for you, in lots of great ways. So I think that's important. The other one is, Thea knows I'm a nerd. I love digital therapeutics. And the other things you can start pulling resources together is what things are out there when it comes to different applications that can help folks modify behavioral patterns. And now you've got another way to be able to connect the dots there, add more kind of utility to your overall offering, and help those patients automate some of those things that are so difficult to start on the behavioral changes. So anyway, I love it, Thea. Super easy chronic care management. We should get started today with all these pharmacies and just let your physicians know, as Thea said, I'm already managing your patients. They're doing great because they're with me. They're with you guys. And now let's just find a way for us to be able to collaborate and generate some revenue and do some extra services to help these patients even more. So Thea, you have a wonderful rest of the time with the family. If you guys all know anything about hockey, Thea's got some little ones that are going to be all-stars here someday. So I'm hoping to get a few autographs along the way.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate your time today. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.